There's a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Debra.
Hi, I'm Debra, alcoholic. I want to thank Michelle for asking me to come out and share. Thank you. And I want to congratulate the CHIP people. And is it Craig? Birthday? Greg? Sorry, Greg. Congratulations. That was an awesome share. That covers all of it right there. Be a service, get out of self, and when the shit hits the fan, that's what this fellowship is all about, is one person helping another person and making those phone calls. We call them buddy calls in one of our groups, and that's really, really important. It doesn't matter how much time you have, life happens. And, the good news is that we have a program and we have tools today on how to deal with that, and we just don't drink or use no matter what. And he just stood up here and his world just fell apart, and he's going back to the basics and doing the things that we all learn right when we get here. Call your sponsor, sponsor people, call your friends, make friends, have friends, be a friend. I didn't know how to do any of those things before I got here. Thought I did, and that's how we, when their pants are falling down, somebody else is going to help you keep them up. You guys are a tough crowd, man. You scared me. I haven't been here on a Wednesday night in a really long time, and you're all yelling and whooping it up. Marilyn's over there laughing. If you laugh at me, I will tell stories about her. Okay. Yeah, you want to hear them, huh? Yeah. No. How many Claire babies are in here, man? That's a lot, yeah. That's right. It's good to see everybody. So I'll give you, what time do I speak till? Huh? 10 till? I don't hear very good at all. Okay. 10 till. I'm trying to read lips. Okay, you just wave at me. All of you wave at me, okay, in case I get carried away. I see better than I hear. Was that a trial run? I have hearing aids, okay, so I'll just disclose that right now. So you all most everybody sounds like they have a lisp, so. It took a long time for you to realize that they don't, They can't correct that. So that was one of the gifts of sobriety, is finding out how old you really are, and and that how fast it goes when you're not getting loaded. Time, it goes really, really fast. So I've been sober 13 years in April, and I disclose it right up front. I'm 57, and the clock is ticking. I'm on the other half of the rest of my life, and I remember when I got here, they told me that I lived half my life partying and using, and then now I get a chance to do the other half, and now I'm like way beyond the other half, and it's really scary. I wish I'd have got here just a little bit sooner, but thanks to modern medicine and physicians, I'm going to try to keep it all together, all my parts for the next. It seems to be challenging, okay? And if economy would pick up, I'd probably have all this fixed if I could, and just wear turtlenecks and long sleeves. I'm not into a lot of pain. This part I could maybe handle. So, and I've lost quite a few teeth, and I now have implants. That's also, due to the program, because I got to work and get a job, and I got to save, and I can now chew on this side as well. And I noticed that I'm getting a wrinkle on this side, and that was because I always chewed just on this side. And so there's my beauty secrets. And I've been married. He's not here, right? My husband. Okay. So I used to say 5.5. He's making me be really honest, and he is the 6th. And I say a half because it was in a whiteout. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing, but I really didn't know why I was doing it. But and I lived in a motel, and I don't remember leaving the freaking motel until the relationship was over. So it was really short, and he was short. He was a biker, and he didn't have a bike. he had the outfit and all of that, and he pawned all my jewelry and stuff one day while I slept forever, and there was a lot of red flags, you know, so that wasn't one of my best picking days, okay, so, but it really was a real marriage, and so I had to get a divorce, so this is my 6th. This is the first marriage that I was fully aware of what was in store, and I did it the AA way. AA and everybody in this fellowship that I knew helped put that wedding on, and donated food and donated time and donated a DJ, and even the minister was in a 12-step program, different than this 12-step program, and he made me disclose a secret. I had slipped about somewhere between 60 and 90 days. I don't really know, because I was going to take that secret to my grave. And so I met my husband here at the Marina Center, right out here. And one of the things that got my attention is I told him that he had really beautiful blue eyes. And he popped one out. And it got my attention. And he showed it to me. And he has one glass eye. And so anyways, I met him here. I don't recommend it. I mean, not here. You guys are something else. Okay, it's gonna be hard to be serious with you. Okay. So I did meet him here, but I was only 6 months sober. That's the part I don't recommend, really, to get in a relationship in early recovery, because it is distracting. And my sponsor told me, just don't let it interfere with your program. So in order for him to date me, because I was one of those desperate people when I got here, I don't know if you are, I hope you are, but this was the last house on the block for me, and it was really depressing. It was really depressing, and I hated it. I hated it. And he was I don't know, it was the eye thing or whatever, but he got me to go to coffee, and I never dated another person after that. I don't know what the hell happened. Early recovery, I never dated anyone. He gave me a ring, which is like, diamonds are my thing, and he put a diamond on my finger because every one of his friends said, you better nab her now. And so he did, and he said, would you marry me someday? Okay. And obviously I'm a sucker for if you say, will you marry me? Okay. So, and something that's shiny, I went right for it. And I never, and I don't even, I wasn't in love at 6 months. I don't know shit, but it looked good, sounded good, and we dated here in the Marina Center, and where's Patty? There she is. Patty knows. Patty saw us. And we sat over there, and I wouldn't even let him hold my hand, because I just, we're going to keep a secret. I didn't want anyone to really know, just in case there was something better out there, And so, because you know how honest we are. Yes, I'll marry you someday, but I'm looking, So, so he was very persistent, and so he just took me to every meeting. And he was very entertaining. As a newcomer, I was very shy and not extremely friendly. And you guys were having way too much fun, like you are tonight, and it just wasn't funny. It just wasn't fucking funny. Okay? So, like I said, it was the eye thing. I know it got my attention. And so he just, just took me to meetings, and it was just on. He was just like constantly annoying. And he talks all the time. I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to do anything. I'd have to drive, and he would bring blended mochas when he'd pick me up, and it was overwhelming. And I finally told my sponsor, I said, I can't breathe, And she said, don't worry, you're not going to walk down the aisle with him. And she was already picking people out, with fancy cars. He drove a Volkswagen van, and had to breathe into a breathalyzer in order to start the van. You know, and I always went for the bad boys, you know. He's a surfer, though. He's a surfer. And so, you know, and so we've been together ever since. It's been like 13 years. I don't know how that happened. I really don't. I've never been with anybody that long, and I have never, ever been true. Ever. I just thought always that I would. I always had good intentions. I don't know about anybody in here, but I always had good intentions, you know, and they were all, even the biker, they were all had good qualities, you know, and most of them all were normies. So I was one of those kind of people that, you know, wanted, you know, things got tough, things got bad, and I needed help. And I always found him, and he always looked at me like, oh, that poor thing. And I would tell them my story, basically, the stuff we stand up here and tell. Well, you tell this to a normie. And oh my God, I mean, because there's a lot of enablers out there in codependence, and they want to fix you, okay? And I have that something on my forehead that drew that kind of person to me, and so I would tell them my story, and they would be just filled with so much compassion and empathy, and and it was beautiful. I mean, I thought it was love. You know, and he's going to fix me. You know, and it does work. It works for a while, just like everything works for a while, you know. And when it quit working, it quit working, you know, and I'd have to move on, you know. And what the indication would usually be is I'd start finding everything wrong with him, you know, and because it couldn't fill that hole. Nobody can fill that hole, you know, that empty hole that I had, and I didn't even know what it was. I learned what it was here. And, you know, it doesn't matter the car, the stuff, the house, the vacations. It doesn't, you know, it just didn't matter. It was never enough, and I didn't know that. I just didn't know that, you know. And deep down inside, there was a part of me that always would think, what's wrong with me? Why don't these relationships work? You know, but that only would last for a minute, because if you drink and use your whole life, you know, you have that mind that rationalizes everything, and that denial that tells you that it's not you, okay, and that it's them. It's what everybody else is doing. It's your circumstances, and it's your past, and it's your childhood, and it was your parents, or it was the thank you, or it was the perpetrator, or it was whatever happened to you in your life. Though, if you know, if you tell a normie that, I mean, you'll just have them in tears. But those are the reasons why I had to drink and I had to use, you know, because I didn't know how to deal with those. I didn't know what to do with those feelings. I didn't know how to process them. I just didn't want them. I couldn't get rid of them. And I didn't have the answer to anything. And I went to psychiatrists since I was in the 3rd grade. You know, I saw my mom have a nervous breakdown. She tried to stuff a roast into a thermos that you put coffee in. And then I was watching cartoons, and I turned and I saw that, and I was like, interesting, and then went back to the cartoons. And then I heard some more noise, and it was my mom and dad, and my mom picked up a knife, a butcher knife, and tried to stab my dad, and they took her away. And that's kind of when my world started changing, my perception started changing. And, you know, I mean, we don't know that, you know, and you know, and so I started seeing a psychiatrist, you know, and, you know, I can tell you my whole life seeing him on and off, on and off, on and off. Nobody addressed my problem like Alcoholics Anonymous. Nobody. These 12 steps took me to not just to the core of what my problem was, which actually is me, and my perception and how I perceive life, and how I do or don't process my feelings, and my entitlement issues, and my expectations, and words that I didn't know existed or what they meant. And these steps broke it all down inside for me and changed how I viewed everything. Most importantly, it changed how I view myself. You know, and then it taught me and showed me how I didn't have to be a victim anymore to everything that happened back there. That I actually had a choice once I became clean and sober, that I had a choice. And I didn't know, I never had a choice. You know, I was like self-sufficient, but how I felt about myself was based on what you thought of me. And so my life was consisted of trying to get everybody and around me to validate me, to make me feel okay. You know, and when that stopped working, then I would just move on to the next group of friends or to the next husband or to the next location. You know, but never ever feeling at any kind of peace with myself. You know, and I was a cutter when I was young. And so the therapist wasn't able to help me process through that and help me deal with my problems. I think that the alcohol and the drugs was a little bit more powerful than the therapy, and so that was my solution, and they never addressed that, and so I ended up at 15 being put in a mental institution for 3.5 years until I was 18 and a half. And that changed my world. That also changed my trust with adults. It changed my trust with people of authority. I'm not one of those people that went to prison. I was one of those people that always ended up in mental institutions, in straitjackets, and on psych wards. That's where my disease takes me, you know. And that was a pattern for me from that moment on. That institution gave me a license to believe that I was crazy, that I was different, and I was always going to be different. And I was, you know, and in my disease, when I was inactive in my disease, it would justify why I did things, because I'm crazy, because I'm sick, I'm not right. And I didn't want to take the medication that they prescribed for me, because I found my own medication, and I medicated myself for the 30-some years, and it worked for a really, really long time. I had a really good time a lot of times, you know, and a long, long, long time. It didn't stop working till the last 5 years, you know, and though it interrupted my life a lot, it made me make bad decisions. Opportunities that came along, I turned down, you know. Being able to have a real relationship with somebody, an intimate relationship with somebody, I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't stay. You know, so it interrupted a lot of things, you know. It took me to a lot of places that I shouldn't have gone and I shouldn't have done. You know, I did a lot of the yets that we talk about in here. Well, I didn't do that. Well, I didn't do this, you know, and I used to tell myself that I'll never steal. I was in the jewelry industry for over 20 years, and I was always proud that I never stole anything, you know, and then I ended up stealing. From the company that I worked for, I ended up stealing a lot of diamonds and gems. And I ended up stealing people's bags and purses. And I turned into the thief of something I never thought I would do, you know. And I was talking to somebody today. It was interesting. I'm so blessed that I didn't have to go to jail. You know, but I was one of those, you know, that hung around. You know, if you're going to hang around, you're going to do drugs and stuff, then it's best to hang around with the dealer. It's best to get really close, as close as you need to, or whatever that may be. And so I was good at doing that. And so I ended up being one of those, you know, because in those days, because I'm old, I looked pretty innocent and not your average smuggler. And so I thought I was hip, slick, and cool because they would ask me to smuggle. And I thought that meant I was really cool. But really what I was really naive and stupid. I really was. You know, I was the one that they'd put out there and would take the fall, you know, for them, you know, honor among thieves. And, you know, I'm just absolutely blessed that it didn't happen, but I think back of all the really stupid shit. Like, you would not put, you know, pounds and pounds of cocaine in a suitcase and go through LAX right now. But back then you did. And that's still really, really stupid. And I remember when I was freebasing, I I packed it all, you know, on me and just walked through security and got on. That's just freaking stupid, you know, just stupid. But I remember thinking, you know, how cool it was, you know. And that's part of the whole idea of doing, you know, doing drugs and drinking. It was all, for me, it was about being cool, hanging out with those kind of people and that kind of lifestyle. I thought it was romantic, you know, movies like Bonnie and Clyde and all that stuff. I always like gravitated towards that stuff, you know, Scarface and all of that. You know, I don't know about anybody in here, but that was a lot more fun than Camelot or, you know, and so, you know, are we predisposed? Are we alcoholics and addicts before we pick up a drink or a drug? I think so. That, you know, I think that long before I started using, you know, my perception of what I thought was fun was a lot different than my other friends, you know. And getting married and having kids getting married was okay. But the kids part, you know, was not on my agenda because I'm a selfish, self-centered person, you know, and I didn't realize that. But I realize that today, that the whole world really did revolve around me, you know. And it was, you know, even though I thought I was a good friend and I thought I was a good wife, I had no idea what it was like to be a friend. Everything I did was so that I would feel better. Everything. There was always a payoff somewhere for whatever I did, you know. And you know, through Alcoholics Anonymous, I realized that the payoff is entirely different. You know, the payoff is self-esteem today. I did it because it was a good thing. I did it because, and I don't know where that came from. I just didn't think I was born with any of that. So I know that through the steps that I had what they call a psychic change. And you know how they tell you, like, go to meetings, tell you like to go to meetings? Does anybody sponsor ever tell them that? You know, well, mine did. And it's like I could not wrap my head around that. That just wasn't going to happen, you know. I mean, there's a lot of lame meetings. There's a lot of lame speakers, you know. I mean, I had a lot of opinions, too. And it happened for me. And I don't know when it happened, but it happened. What I discovered is when I feel really bad and when I feel really shitty, I could come in here and feel really bad and really shitty. And I could leave feeling bad and really shitty, but I didn't drink or use. That's a miracle. That's magic. You know, there's always something that the speaker would say or somebody would say that just gave me just enough to make it from the time I left this meeting until I put my head on the pillow at that night. And then when I woke up in the next morning, I felt a little bit better. Okay, I did have to drink or use. I had the obsession to drink and use for almost 3.5 years. It was really, really hard. So I went to a lot of meetings. I did a lot of work, you know, and that was all I could do. And when I said my husband and I dated by coming to meetings, that's exactly what we did. He didn't marry me until I was 4 years sober because he wanted to see if I would be consistent. When he said that, it made really, really a lot of sense to me, okay, because of my record, because of my past, you know. And so I'm going to get back to this one story I was going to tell you. So when we were going to get married, we went to this minister. And I had slipped, but I hadn't told anybody, and I was 4 years sober. And there was no way I was going to tell anybody. Not at 4 years, right? And I just took a 4-year cake. So we're sitting there, we're going to get married, and this minister told us, well, you guys know everything about each other. You know, you've worked your steps, you've done your 4th and your 5th step, and, you know, and there's no secrets. And when he said fucking secret, I'm telling you, like, almost ripped my heart out, okay? Because I've had 5 marriages that didn't work, and I so much wanted this to work. I so much wanted to be an honest person and so much wanted to be loved and be able to give love. And I had told everything, I swear, but that one little, it was just one night. You know, it wasn't like I went on a run or anything, okay? Nobody knew I didn't hurt anybody, okay? Why do I have to tell? So, you know, I just sat on it. I went, God, just don't. You know, you could lose everything. So I started going to these meetings. Frick, every time I'd go to a meeting, somebody would get up there and say how they had slipped and how hard it was to become honest. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. Yeah. File that one. And then I'd come to a meeting and somebody would get up there and they just slipped and they're coming clean. This just kept going on for like 2 weeks. So I'm at a meeting and I'm sitting with next to my sponsor, and sure enough, the speaker starts that same shit again, you know. And I said, I looked over and I said, I got to talk to you after the meeting, you know. So I told her, I came clean. And during that meeting and in those 2 weeks, I had to do another surrender. I had to say, it doesn't matter whether I have to start all over again and change my sobriety date. It doesn't matter if he says, I'm not going to marry you now, we're going to have to wait another 4 years. I had to be willing. In my head, I had to play that tape through, and I had to be willing. Because the other half of my head was saying, okay, if you're going to tell the truth, you might as well go out and really fucking do it. If you're going to have to start over, right, then go out. Get just messed up as you can, okay? That's what the other side of my head was telling me, okay? That's my disease, okay? The other one that was saying, take your chances. Don't drink or use no matter what. You know, trust me. Trust in me. Trust in this program. Trust in all of you. That somehow it will work out, because that's what you told me over and over. Just don't drink or use. It will work out. And I did it. And so on the way home, I called him and I said, man, I got to tell you something. It's really bad, you know. So I get there and he thinks I had a car accident or something, you know. So I tell him the truth and he goes, that's it? He's like, that's all? You know, that's no big deal. That's what we do. We get to make mistakes, okay? So I changed my sobriety date and I just kept going forward. You know, and that was a good lesson for me. I'd rather be honest today. It taught me integrity. It also gave me self-esteem. And it also helped me believe in a power greater than myself, that no matter what, everything's going to be okay. It may not be the way I want it, may not turn out the way I want it all the time, but it's always going to be okay. You know, because it was always about, I want what I want, and I'm going to find a way to get what I want. But more times than not, what I wanted didn't make me happy, and I still became an alcoholic and an addict. You know, today, you know, I don't have to drink or use no matter what, just today, for today. No matter what's happening, I have the tools today. Pick up the phone, call somebody, tell on myself, tell on how I'm feeling, tell people what I'm thinking, no matter how stinking it is, you know. No matter what, you know, if I have a resentment or if I'm thinking really shitty things about the guy sitting next to me through the whole meeting or whatever, I tell somebody what a slob I am, what an inconsiderate, selfish, what a bitch I am sometimes. You know, how uncool I am sometimes, how nerdy I am sometimes, whatever it is. It's okay. We get to do that in here. I don't know any other place on this planet where you can be all those things and we love you the next week. You come back and we love you. We love everything about you, you know? And I never had that before. I didn't know you could be all those things, you know? And I have a relationship today where I can be all those things. The thing I also didn't know is that the other person that I'm married to also is allowed to be all those things. Okay, that was the part I never learned how to deal with, okay? And Alcoholics Anonymous taught me how to do that. How to let you grow and through this process and become who you are or who you want to be, and you get to make mistakes and you get to be bitches and dicks and whatever you want to call it. You get to do, you know, you get to do all that. And I get to accept it, because there's a place in the big book, it's either what, 417 or 449, whatever book you got. Okay, you go in there and you read the acceptance, and I get to accept you for who you are. That's my lesson. That's on me. That's my responsibility. Is that if I want you to accept me the way I am, the good and the bad, character defects, shortcomings, all that crap, menopause, whatever you're going through, Male menopause too. I just looked it up online because I think I have one in my house. Please don't repeat that. So I learned that in order to have this intimate relationship with another human being, whether it be your mate, your friend, your family, is learning to love them just the way they are. Don't try to change them. They're just being who they are. It's your responsibility on how you perceive it and how you deal with it. So call your sponsor. Work a step. We got the tools. And it works. Another thing I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous was forgiveness. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to forgive myself for everything I had done. And I really didn't think that fourth and fifth step was going to work. But the step that I was scared of the most was 8 and 9. Making those amends, having to, that humbling feeling, that just, it took me till I was almost, right before my first year birthday, before I did the fourth and fifth, just to prolong the 8 and 9, okay? That was gnarly. And the money part, I thought I would never be able to get through that. It took a long time. It took me 5 years to make my financial amends. And I got all my ugly amends out in the beginning. And some were good, and some weren't so good. But that's the whole reason why the 8 and 9 is at 8 and 9 way up there. Because hopefully by the time you get to 8 and 9, you're able to take the ones that aren't so good, the ones that aren't really care whether or not you're sorry or whether or not you have money to pay them back. You know, take my money and then get the hell out of my life. Don't ever come around, you know. And making amends to 5 other marriages was not received well in some of them, and I'm still waiting for a response on one, but no, that's okay. And some people I can't even make amends to because I don't know where they are. But I have a higher power today that is taking care of all that. I just remain willing. And these steps have taught me how to become a human being with mistakes. And I get to make mistakes today. And I don't have to be a perfectionist. I don't have to be perfect in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, and thank God I don't. I try really hard, and I'm extremely disappointed constantly because I have huge expectations for myself. So if you have huge expectations for yourself, you know, talk it over with somebody else, okay? And I learned here not to judge my insides, but all of your outsides. Because when I came here, you all looked like you all had it together. Even if you had one more day than me, you know, you had more than I did. What brought me to Alcoholics Anonymous was, like I said, I was desperate. I was a cutter. My option always in life was death. If it got too bad, I could always just check out. And that was my last run. It got too bad, and I had no more options, and I had no more money. I had no more friends. I wasn't dateable. My last date, when I was in the bathroom getting ready to come to bed, I just picked him up at Brennan's bar. And when I came out of the bathroom, he was in bed, but he hadn't taken off his clothes. He was just not interested. He came there to make sure I'd be okay. But he wasn't, and I got to meet him like 2 years after I got sober. And that's how come I know that. At that time, I just thought he was being a gentleman. That wasn't the case. You know, so I wasn't dateable anymore. And I was on my last write-up at work, and I knew I wasn't going to go and work the next day because of the condition I was in. And I had saved up a lot of medication, you know, Vicodin, Percocet, Valium, all that stuff, because I was in an abusive relationship, so I had a lot of injuries. So I'd saved up a lot of medication because I wasn't a real big pillhead. And that night, when I went to go to the ATM, is when I discovered I didn't have any more money. I mean, my denial was huge, you know, and I couldn't pull out $20. And for the first time, I saw that there frickin' wasn't any money in there. And I don't know why I hadn't seen it before, other than I was just living in that fog, that place where there's like no reality, you know. And I looked in the mirror that night, and I saw for the first time this empty soul. I saw, my eyes were like black. They were like empty. I just looked in the mirror, and they were just empty. And my world just fell apart. And I just took all those pills. I said, fuck it. Fuck it. I can't do it anymore. I cannot do it anymore. And I was 44 years old. And I had nothing. I had no friends. I had no boyfriends. I had no money. I wasn't going to have a job tomorrow. And I couldn't pay rent. And I was done. And I just got tired, you guys. I was just tired. I don't know if you ever feel that. I was just tired. You know, and so I took all that. And by the grace of God, someone came and called. And I didn't answer. And she came to my house and got me to the hospital. And my heart stopped when they were pumping my stomach. And they had to revive me, and I woke up 3 days later, and that's when my journey began in Alcoholics Anonymous. After the third day, and I could complete a sentence, I asked to speak to my doctor, and I asked my doctor for help. And I went to a recovery center, and then I went to sober living, and then I started coming here to the Marina Center. And I'm so grateful for all the people that have walked before me, and I'm grateful that I'm here today, and I'm grateful that the most important thing I'm going to tell you that I have gained since I've become clean and sober, the most important thing is I have found God of my understanding, and I did not have that, and that God walks me through every 24 hours at a time. So thank you for letting me share. Yeah!